My wife cheated behind my back with her friend's help, so I exposed their girls' weekend from hell. My name is Jerry Adams, and until recently I was very content with my life. I've been married to Betsy for about 28 years. We're both 55 years old and have a granddaughter, Amy, who's married to Jim, a nice guy. They've been married 3 years and are expecting their first child. A brief history lesson about Betsy and me. We met in college and dated, but we were both working hard to complete our degrees and were never especially close. We started dating and came to find that we were really compatible. We married 18 months later, and Amy was born 2 years after that. She was a great, intelligent daughter. Betsy and I have good jobs. She has 25 years of teaching experience, and I work in a huge company's finance department. We mostly work for the government, and I am responsible for controlling expenses and adhering to all government project regulations. I have a crew of 4 and have been in business for 31 years. This narrative begins in the summer when my wife is not working, and she and 3 or 4 frequent companions get together for dinner or occasionally just meet at one of their residences. Most meetings are simply an opportunity for them to have fun. They would occasionally go to a bar to listen to music, and, if invited, dance. I never questioned what was going on because my wife is rarely late or drinks excessively. It began around 3 years ago, right about the time Betsy and I became empty nesters. We both adore their baby, and I hope to rekindle our passion when we grew older. We aren't as active as we once were, but we still go out to dinner at least once a week, sometimes alone, sometimes with another couple. It appeared to me that we were content and happy in our relationship. At least, that is what I believed. I drove home that evening, stopping for lunch with my friend Harold. When the wives get together, he and I will occasionally have dinner together. I had already finished and was on my way home when I noticed cars, so I parked at the corner and walked home. As I stepped through the side door leading to the back patio, I heard loud laughter and assumed they had a few bottles of wine. I smiled when I heard Stephanie, Betsy's best friend, say she loved her husband Sam, but he was old, overweight, and could hardly stand. She stated that sometimes all she needs is a little affection, and that she has a fantastic vibrator and can enjoy herself without having to gratify her spouse. She went on to say that when he gets difficult, he holds on for approximately a minute, so she told everyone that his nickname was now Minute Man. Everyone laughed. I felt embarrassed for him because he was at our house and was a decent person. Yes, he is a little overweight, but Stephanie was not exactly petite in the first place. She was polite, but I had never heard her talk about her spouse in that way before. I was astonished and felt bad for him. I didn't enter the room because I wanted to hear what everyone was saying. Maggie then stepped up, stating that her husband, Harold, was very different. He's fine with it and then became curious, but she is not pleased with his size. She stated she can barely feel it, and after 3 children, she feels the desire for something more. Everyone chuckled and wondered how large it was. She claimed it was around 4 inches. Then Stephanie answered, "No. How hard and large is he?" Maggie giggled and stated, "It's hard. We should call him Teeny Weeny." Stephanie said everyone exploded, and she told Maggie she could use a vibrator whenever she wanted. She went on to say, "Will he be able to find this little thing when the call comes?" I stood there, surprised that all the women were so open about their spouses. Harold is a dear friend, and I felt terrible for him while they laughed. I was relieved that my wife was silent. At the very least, I had a wife who was respectful. Then came Erica's turn. I barely knew her husband, Allie, but he seemed pleasant to me. She said that she was going through menopause and was not interested. However, her spouse was still horny. As a result, he would sometimes plead in front of her just to please himself, and she assisted him with this. She claimed she enjoyed making him act like a teenager and laughed at him when he became excited and tormented. When he did, she dubbed him the Blue Barrel Boy. All the women laughed, and I heard my wife laugh. It was her turn. "Okay, ladies, admit it. We're all married to older men who are fairly sad," Stephanie said. "Betty, what should we call Jerry? What is his nickname?" I was dead silent and waited to hear. She laughed and replied, "I think a pillar sounds good." Everyone laughed. I was stunned. Throughout the years, my wife has never said anything like that to me. I never forced myself on her, and when she was tired, I would leave her alone and simply kiss her. I never remember being intrusive. Has she just said that, or is this true? I recall that when we weren't together, it was just once every 2 weeks or so, especially while she was going through menopause. I've never heard her complain about me. I just stood there with my heart pumping. I was angry, hurt, and had no idea what to do. Then Stephanie, the apparent ringleader, remarked, "We girls are bad too. We should start coming to this new club and inviting some young males to dance with us. If our guys aren't doing it for us, we can at least allow the guys at the club some leeway." The others chuckled and agreed it was a fantastic idea. Now I was curious about what was going on in the bar. Betsy rarely came home intoxicated or enthusiastic. She usually took a brief shower before going to bed. Most of the time, I was still awake. One day, I asked how she was doing, whether she was dancing or not, and if she was a good dancer. She chuckled and replied, "I have something better at home." What crap, I wondered. Was she being molested? I didn't detect anything while standing outside the door. They all clinked their glasses, agreeing that they should come out more often. I just stood there. Everyone kept laughing and drinking. Erica raised a toast for the Minuteman, the teeny-weeny, the boy with the blue balls and the boy with the pillar. Everyone lifted a toast. I felt disgusted. Did they repeat this every time they got together? Finally, Erica stated, "You know, we are all married, and we should be grateful that they are all good fathers and breadwinners. Even if they have flaws, they are ours." I hoped Stephanie had returned, but she had not. Yes, they were excellent fathers, but sometimes we require more. Just trying out someone young once would be enjoyable. Then there was silence, and nobody said anything. It was already late. Erica said, "We have to go back to the old boys again." I climbed out the back door and walked to my car before anyone else left. I was so angry that I knew I needed to cool down before returning home. I drove around the neighborhood and stopped at a park. I chose to stroll a little longer. I remembered what I'd heard. I thought all the women were sweet and kind, which surprised me. Was I actually in such horrible shape? I was a little overweight and weighed more than I needed, but I was in better shape than the other women. I wasn't handsome, but neither was I a hunk. They were all a little hefty, and while they were pretty, I wasn't expecting to see so many young males after them. I wondered if I should tell my spouse what I heard. Should I sneak out and observe when they next go to the bar? The more I thought about it, the more I realized I adored Betsy, but the level of contempt I heard tonight infuriated and pained me. Is she so naive as to believe it doesn't hurt? How would she react if I spoke hurtful things about her to her friends' husbands? It was nearly dark when I went home. When I pulled into the driveway, everyone had already gone. I walked through the back door and into the kitchen. Betsy was finishing her cleaning. When I walked in, she turned around and said, "Hi, dear. How was your day?" I glanced at her as if I didn't recognize the woman. I wanted to reprimand her, but I remained there silently. "Honey, what happened? You seem unhappy." "I just had a rough day, and I'm quite exhausted." "I assumed you were going to supper with Harold. What happened?" "Harold is fine. I've just had an awful day. My head is throbbing. I believe I'll take a shower, read a little, and then retire to bed." Betsy raced to me and hugged me. I stood limp and exhausted. She kissed my cheek. I pulled back and went away. "Do you need anything? How can I help?" "No, I am okay. Just so exhausted." I showered and jumped into bed. She looked into our bedroom while reading. "Please let me know if there is anything I can do to help. I love you." I just nodded. I took a few sleeping tablets and eventually fell asleep. I recall Betsy creeping up to embrace me, but I pretended to be sleeping. She rolled over and fell asleep. On Saturday morning, I awoke early and decided to ride my bike. Betsy was sleeping, so I walked outside and planned to ride for approximately an hour. I normally rode for 30 minutes, which was plenty to keep me going, but now I decided I wanted to start working on my endurance. When I returned, Betsy was already eating breakfast. I was sweating and returned to the shower. "Jerry, I will prepare you breakfast. What do you want?" "I'm going shopping with Amy for pregnancy clothes." "Do not worry about me. I will simply eat a bagel and sip coffee." "Have a great time." When I got down to breakfast, she had already left. I was relieved that she had left. Now I could think clearly about what to do. I was furious when I realized I needed to learn more about going to the bar. One of my assistants was Dan, a 32-year-old who had been with me for nearly 5 years. As far as I recall, my wife only met him once. Perhaps he could monitor her without raising suspicions. We had a landline, and I kept thinking about shutting it off and only using our cell phones. I planned to monitor the home phone as well. Maybe I'd pick up something to keep track of calls. I spent the entire day going through her emails, which she never kept private. I reviewed around 2 years of activity and found nothing untoward. I was wondering why she hadn't deleted the old letters. Now I'm pleased she didn't. Around 5 o'clock, I heard her car pull up to the house. She stormed into the room, claiming she had a lovely day finding stuff for Amy. I was delighted since I adore our daughter and believe she and her spouse could benefit from our assistance. Betsy chatted nonstop, and I sat there nodding. Finally, she stated that she would have some leftovers from last night's gathering for dinner. This pulled me back to reality and made me upset again. I tried not to show it, but she noticed that I remained mute over supper. "Honey, please tell me what is bothering you." "I am fine. It is work, and I hope everything gets handled quickly." She kissed me as I grabbed the plates and began clearing the table. I understood a long time ago that Betsy is a far superior cook, but at least I know how to clean. She sipped wine and sat at the table while I washed the dishes. "Betsy, are you pleased?" What does happy mean? Certainly. How about you? Yes, but you sometimes appear remote. Are you having a good time with your girls? This was her opportunity to say something like, yeah, I enjoy going out with my pals. We have lots of fun because we are all about the same age and have similar interests. Instead, she asked, do you dance with other males when you're listening to music? She suddenly looked up and laughed. People occasionally invite me to dance, and they do. It's innocent, and I never allow them to go too close. Are you jealous of young men? Do you ever feel a bit nervous? Well, Jerry, I believe you are jealous. You do not need to worry about it, dear. I'm intrigued because 4 or 5 stunning women sitting together can attract a large number of men. Do you slow dance with them when they ask? Jerry, what's up? You understand that I will never let anyone get too close. Do other girls dance too? Will you let me know if any of them ever do anything inappropriate? Betsy looked at me suspiciously and replied, Jerry, I don't believe any of the ladies will do anything wrong. You recognize them all. They'd never do that. I considered and said, I have an idea. Why don't we host a picnic and invite them and their husbands? She simply shrugged and remarked, I think they're all busy. Okay. I was simply wondering when you gals would get together again. Jerry, I wanted to speak with you about this. Stephanie has a lake house, and she suggested we all go there next weekend. Stephanie only met wives. You're always too busy. I turned to look at her. When were you planning to inform me? I intended to mention it last night, but you weren't feeling good. When will you leave? We plan to leave Friday morning and return Monday evening, just in time for the 4th of July. We generally have a party on the 4th. Will you miss the party? No, I'll be back on time for the fireworks. You will miss everything else. Amy and Jim regularly come to see us. Betsy looked at me and saw that I was dissatisfied. Jerry, I will absolutely make amends when I return home. Sometimes girls just need a break. I understand. Then I left, went into my office, and began to contemplate. She rarely leaves, and now, after hearing all of the women's comments about how they need something extra, I am having serious reservations. I wondered what was going on. Betsy eventually entered the office. Jerry, you are not upset with me, are you? No, I just want you to tell me everything. By the way, who is coming? Stephanie, Maggie, Erica, and Teresa. She works beside Stephanie and is a dear friend. I was unfamiliar with Teresa, but I wanted to learn more about her. Teresa is the same age, and is she married? I believe she is around our age, although she is divorced. That was great. My wife wants to go away for a few days to have fun with some other women, and I have no idea what is going on. It seems unusual that you suddenly wanted to spend more time with your buddies. I was thinking we could spend some time together because they also had the day off on Monday. That is extremely nice, sweetheart, but this is the one moment we can all get together. I guarantee you and I will do some more before the end of the summer. As the week progressed, I could tell my wife was enthusiastic about the approaching trip. I was angry. I planned to try again and see what reply I got. Honey, how about I join you on Friday evening and leave on Monday morning? You will still spend time apart from your spouses, but we may also spend time together. Jerry, what is wrong with you? We only need some chicks-only time. Okay, you have time, but you won't like it if I go golfing with the men over the weekend. That's because it's prohibitively pricey, and I don't enjoy being alone. Please attempt to comprehend that you are behaving like a child. Well, this was my final attempt. Maybe she is right, girls require time alone. I'd never worried about Betsy before, but the talk I overheard made me even more concerned. I planned to find out more. I grabbed her phone while she was in the shower and attempted to open it. She had protected it. She'd never locked her phone before. I needed to come up with a plan. She and I had nearly identical phones, so I took hers to work and left mine. Dan was our IT expert. I asked if he could help me get into her phone. He worked on it for a long time, and I gave him every possible password combination. Finally, he found the correct combination, and it was open. I read through her texts, hoping to uncover something useful. I discovered a wealth of information and attempted to link messages to my home email. I told him I appreciated it, and he was delighted to assist. Stephanie appeared to be the group's ringleader. They would first go to her cabin and then visit some visitors. Teresa was the event planner. The more I read, the angrier I got. My lovely wife was quite excited. Only Maggie saw it as a poor idea. If the husbands discover this, they will be enraged, she wrote. Stephanie simply shut her down and said it would be fun, and if no one knew, there would be no harm done. My dear wife agreed. Erica expressed her excitement, saying she couldn't wait. I checked as many emails as possible. When I got home, my wife questioned whether I had unintentionally taken her phone. I told her yes. She ranted and asked, "Why did you take my damn phone? It's private, so don't look at it, damn you, Jerry." I looked at her like she'd gone insane. I realized it was your phone, but since you had lately locked it, I couldn't read it. Obviously, you were doing something intimate that you didn't want your husband to see. What the hell is going on, Betsy? Nothing. I just don't like it when people stare at my personal items. Betsy, do you have anything to hide? Of course not. On Tuesday night, I had a fitful sleep. I decided to phone my daughter, as she knew everything. My wife and Amy spoke practically every day. I called her and inquired whether her mother had told her about her escape. Amy replied yes and appeared happy. I asked if she had any information. Everything's fine. It's okay. She just looks a little different. Maybe she's so excited because the baby is on the way. Honey, you're correct. We can't wait. Betsy came home and noticed I was unhappy. Honey, do you know how much I adore you? It's a simple getaway, and I'll be happy to see you when I return one day. I grinned and replied, I hope so. On Thursday, I got up early and headed to work. I chose to check her messages. Stephanie kept telling the girls that it would be a lot of fun, but never mentioned what they were going to do. Teresa was the only one who organized everything. I wanted to speak with Dan again and show him some of the emails. I wondered whether there was any way to access the emails. Dan looked over the letter and asked, Who is Teresa? I do not know. Someone who works alongside Stephanie. He smiled broadly. She is my sister. She recently held a bachelorette party for a friend who is getting married, and she informed me that a woman at work wants to hire a stripper for some of her friends. Teresa informed her that she could order one for them, but on what occasion? Her friend recently informed her that there will be a bachelorette party this weekend. Dan must have noticed how pale I was. Jerry, do not worry. I will figure it out. Now I understood what was going on. My wife was going to have a stripper, and I was curious how far it would go. A private party is not the same as a strip club. I continued reading Betsy's letters and emails. Betsy stated that I was starting to become angry. Stephanie wrote, After this weekend, he needs to be nicer to you because if he misbehaves, you will not meet him again. This got me so upset that I wanted to strike the wall. I quickly devised a plan. Amy called me after lunch and said she was talking with her mother. She stated she simply needed to leave. Amy questioned her about what was so important about this weekend that she would miss her family's 4th of July celebrations. Betsy stated that she just needed to be with the girls and not stress. Amy also mentioned that she thought I was depressed and suggested that she spend more time with me. Her mother explained that she needed this to happen and that she would make it up to me when she got home. On Thursday, I decided to phone all of the husbands. First, I called Harold and inquired if he had noticed Maggie acting strangely. He claimed she appeared concerned. He believed she was merely feeling under the weather, but she was looking forward to the weekend. Dan called me back and talked to his sister, Teresa. She approached a stripper who was performing at the party. This is the same stripper Stephanie hired. I called the husbands and invited them to meet me on Friday night without telling their wives. Sam and Holly didn't know me very well and claimed they just wanted to relax at home alone. Then I told them that men might want to know more about what their spouses were about to do. It was quite significant for the marriage. Everyone finally came to an agreement. I also advised them to sneak a look into their wives' emails or messages to see what they were doing. They claimed they couldn't get into cell phones. Friday morning, I awoke at 5:30. Betsy was asleep, so I went to check her suitcase to see what she had packed. I found nothing remarkable. I continued checking her email messages. Stephanie expressed her desire to see what Teresa had done, but she refused to tell the others. Betsy was meant to depart at 8. They wanted to go early, even though the trip only took around 2 hours. Why not go in the sun as soon as possible? I took the day off, but she was unaware of it. I was eating breakfast when I finally heard the shower. I normally leave around 8:30. I decided to depart early and leave a note explaining that I had an early appointment. Dear Betsy, I hope you have a wonderful time with your friends. I know you're miserable, and I believe the reason is that you've cut yourself off from me. I apologize that I no longer make you happy, but I would like you to stay here so that we can reconnect. I've been feeling very melancholy recently, and I wanted to be near you because you always made me feel special. I've loved you for more than 28 years. I wish you nothing but happiness in the future. When Stephanie texted that she would pick her up at 8 o'clock, your beloved husband, Jerry, became concerned. Betsy wrote back, Stephanie, there is something wrong with Jerry. I'm worried I won't be able to go until I speak to him. Betsy, for God's sake, he's a big kid, and he's probably upset about being left alone for the weekend. I bet the pillar is simply moving. Damn, Stephanie, this is not funny, and I'm wondering if he suspects something. I've been treating him horribly recently. I need to contact him. Okay. I'll call Harold to see what he can find. He also departed early in the morning. The women communicated and discovered it was impossible to contact all of their husbands. Stephanie texted everyone and told them to get ready. We are all heading away for the weekend. No excuses. The men will be all right. I worked on the plan for several days. Now it was up to the guys. Perhaps they were genuinely elderly, overweight, lusty, and lazy, as their wives claimed. It is not too late to save marriages or at least prevent wives from ending them. Harold and I had a brief conversation when Allie and Sam arrived. Everyone seemed concerned, which I explained was normal. I asked you all here because I believe our spouses will breach our wedding vows this weekend. Can you live with it? I gave them the entire story, including how I overheard them discussing each of them, and how I hacked my wife's cell phone to find out what was going to happen, or at least what they planned to do. Sam, Allie, and Harold were furious. They suddenly fell silent. I suggested my plan. We'll get up on Saturday, head to the cabin, wait for the visitors to arrive, and see what happens. We discussed it and decided not to respond to any emails, phone calls, or text messages. Let us leave the women in the dark. It would be difficult, but we needed to raise their suspicions. We spoke until late at night and arranged to meet again at 9 o'clock in the morning. I had a restless night. I kept checking my phone, and my wife texted me approximately 20 times. She was initially concerned, but then became enraged and branded me a selfish brat for attempting to ruin her weekend with the girls. I went to bed and attempted to fall asleep. I finally dozed off in the morning. I called my daughter, who told me that her mother had called and was very concerned. Amy explained that they had asked her father because her mother wanted to run away and play with the girls. Betsy hung up. I looked into her account, as I routinely do. I normally handle the majority of the accounts. I noticed Betsy had withdrawn $500 for the trip. Now I understood what she was up to. I informed the boys about what was going on and told them to check their accounts. They did so and discovered that all of the women had withdrawn significant sums of money. Sam, Allie, and Harold were ashamed and angered because of the contempt shown to them by everyone. I didn't want them to get aggressive, but I told them to keep their dissatisfaction in check for when we met the women. Something was scheduled to happen at 8 o'clock, so we had to be there within 7 hours and not let the girls down. Teresa kept me updated following my conversation with them. Stephanie approached Teresa to see if she knew a decent stripper for a girls' night out. Teresa knew the stripper who worked with her. I relayed this knowledge to my husband, who grew even angrier. In reality, she snapped many photographs of a stripper she knew and provided them to Stephanie. She told me Stephanie nearly wet her pants. The stripper was in his late 40s, tall, gorgeous, and extremely well-built. His manhood was large. Teresa confirmed that Stephanie desired this. Stephanie also inquired whether the man would do different things. For example, Teresa asked. Stephanie remarked that they were all married to old farts and wanted to see how a sexy young man could treat 4 women. When Teresa informed me about this, she told me that the others were unaware, but Stephanie intimated that it would be private and enjoyable for everyone. As we continued our chat, the men spewed fire. Fortunately, we were able to halt it, but our futures with our wives were terrible. I texted Teresa while we were approaching to see if everything was ready. She called me back a few minutes later after she had gone outside. Teresa, we are appreciative of your aid. You have opened our eyes and perhaps it will save 1 or 2 marriages. I do not know, Jerry. My husband was a loser and cheated on me, and when Dan discussed your issue and discovered that I was working with Stephanie, I was delighted to assist. Stephanie informed the others about the impending arrival of a stripper. I genuinely want to know the facts, especially how your wife reacted. Teresa seemed reluctant to tell me, but she eventually did. Jerry, I believe your wife is at the mercy of Stephanie and lets her control her into doing things she would not ordinarily do. Teresa, please tell the truth. Did anyone admit to doing stuff at the bar? It's difficult to say, but they mentioned that some males kissed them and ran their hands over them, but no one was into them. As for your wife, she stated that one day she took her hand and placed it on his erection, which she described as extremely large. She then retracted her hand and did nothing else. I see. They understand what will happen. Stephanie reminded them that if they liked a huge man's instrument, they should wait to see and feel it in action. He's going to entertain us all, and maybe we can assist him do so. I have to go. They believe I'm talking to a stripper, she stated. What she did wasn't too horrible. I hope you understand that Stephanie is the terrible person. Thank you, Teresa. Without you, we would all be clueless cuckolds. When I told the men what she said, they became enraged. We were already close to the heart. We came to a halt, and I, as the spokesperson, was about to inform the wives of our decision. I texted Teresa saying we'd be there in 10 minutes. She responded, "Fine, they have just finished dinner. The time was 7:30 in the evening. The hut is situated on a tiny hill overlooking a lovely lake." Sam informed me that it had been in his family for 3 generations. The cabin was rustic but charming, and the view was breathtaking. The nearest neighbor was a half-mile away. We walked along the dusty road, stopping a few hundred yards behind. We got out and went toward the hut. We overheard women conversing. They must have been standing on the cabin's back porch overlooking the lake. Sam opened the front door, and we all entered. The women had not seen us yet. They were drinking wine and conversing. When Sam unlocked the rear door, the conversation came to an end. All the spouses paled. "Hello," Sam said, smiling. They all stood, startled. Stephanie finally spoke up. "Sam, what the hell are you doing here? It's a girls' weekend. We were planning to go somewhere before you left. Come inside the house. I want you to meet my pals. Ladies, I would like to present you to Blue Ball Boy, Little Weenie Boy, Pillar Boy, and of course, Minute Man. Is that correct?" he asked, turning to face his wife. Stephanie was speechless, which was great. I spoke next. "Please sit down and relax. We need to talk about something." Betsy started to say something, but I cut her off. "No," she sat down to cry. Maggie looked as if she had seen a ghost. "Erica had post-traumatic stress disorder. We want to discuss something first, and then you can talk." I turned to Teresa and said, "Wow, you must be Teresa. You're fantastic. My wife says you are the same age as her. How old are you?" Teresa feigned surprise and said, "I'm 34. Obviously, my wife is either blind or lying, right, hun?" I winked. The women looked very nervous, as it was about 7:50, and they thought a stripper was coming. They looked at their watches. Erica finally found her voice and said, "Let's all go somewhere to eat." I laughed. "Nice try, Erica. I think the stripper should be here any minute, you know, the one with the big tool that you've all been waiting for." My wife started crying, and Maggie was already crying. Harold couldn't hold back any longer. "Maggie, you fallen woman, how could you humiliate me in front of your friends and discuss my size? I'll buy you a baseball bat, and it will help make you happy." Ali was next. "Erica, you are so special. I've loved you for many years, and now all I see is betrayal on your part. Thank you for telling others that I need you. I don't just want a middle seat. I want you. Well, not anymore. You speak of me as a grinning, submissive weakling. Well, you then." Sam added, "Stephanie, you're disgusting. Most of these women's actions were triggered by your own self-esteem issues. You are the instigator of almost everything that happened. I thought I loved you, but you made it impossible. After our divorce, you can continue to live your life as an old, fallen woman looking for larger sizes than men. By the way, your 5th place does look big in those pants, and honestly, if you get any bigger, they should tie ropes to you so you can march in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade." Finally, I said, "My dear Betsy, you also managed to burn bridges behind you. You lied and deliberately hurt me for fun. You will find me so disgusting when I have a pillar in the future because you will never see, feel, or touch it. I'm sorry that I loved you for 28 years and found you attractive. Maybe you'll go back to the bar and feel some guy's pillars. Apparently you like it. By the way, there won't be a stripper. We stopped that as soon as we found out about it. Don't worry about how we found out, but we did. Honey, I hope that the $500 you took out of our account you can use to find somewhere else to live, or you can go and look for a stripper. Well, I've had enough. Happy life." The ladies followed us out into the street and tried to explain something, but I heard nothing. Before leaving, we let the air out of 2 tires on Stephanie's car. She wouldn't be able to find someone to fix it until tomorrow or later since it was a holiday weekend. Teresa had already left while we were talking with our wives. We all returned home. My wife kept calling and emailing. All the messages she wrote stated that she was very sorry and that it was all a big joke. In one voice message that I listened to, she said, "Jerry, I'm very sorry, but all the women were joking. We understand that this was offensive. I would never have it in with anyone else. It was purely entertainment, and I was wrong for not telling you about it in advance. I love you very much, and I can never replace you." I didn't answer. I went to my daughter Amy's house and had a nice picnic with them. I told her that her mother hired a stripper for their entertainment, and I don't trust her. She was upset and shocked that her mother did this. When her mother called her, she asked, "Did you like the stripper?" Her mother said it was a joke and that she should never talk about it. Our wonderful wives were able to return home on July 4th. I'd already met Amy and Jim. Finally, Betsy joined us. "Jerry, Amy, and Jim, I'm so sorry for what I did, and I want you to know that I love you very much and will do everything in my power to make it better for us." Amy told her mom, "I'm very disappointed, and I can't believe you think this is acceptable. I haven't seen a stripper since I was in college." "Really?" Jim said. "Perhaps you should tell me about this. I didn't know this about my wife." "Jim, this was before I met you, and we were a bunch of young girls, not old ladies like my mother." Betsy cried and went home. I got home after the fireworks, and apparently, Betsy was so tired that she went to bed. This was fine with me because I moved my clothes into Amy's old room. The next morning, I had to go to work, and I was out the door. Betsy left the room. At the office, someone asked, "How did it go?" "It was difficult, but I'm glad we were at least able to prevent more damage," I responded. "Do you think you can save your marriage?" I hope so, but I'm not sure. I still love Betsy. She actually wrote to me and asked when I would be home and that she was going to make me dinner. We really need to talk, she said. I told her I'd be home at the usual time. I entered the house, and everything around me smelled nice. She came up to me and said, "I missed you, and I'm sorry about everything. Can we talk about this after dinner?" Certainly. Dinner was quiet, but the food was good. I love her cooking. When it was all over, she asked permission to go into the living room and brought dessert and wine. I thought she's trying the whole court press here. Jerry, I'm sorry about the weekend. We never had any intention of doing anything with the stripper. I didn't even know about it until we arrived. Betsy, when did you find out about this? Why didn't you refuse or at least tell Stephanie that this was wrong? I thought about it, but she planned everything, and it was her cabin, so we all felt like she was in charge. Also, tell me more about those times you went to the bar. How many male friends have you already groped, and how many have you been groped? No, I was not groped, and I did not feel. This didn't happen. Well, according to one of your friends, a guy put your hand on his erection, and you said he was huge. It is not true. He may have accidentally touched me, but I never felt it or played with any guy. I've been thinking a lot in the last 2 weeks, and I'm very unhappy, as you know. You didn't care when I was hurt, and your disrespect is disgusting. Your conversation sounds like talking about clients, not about the husbands you were supposed to love. Where did this come from? You always say bad things about us. Honey, this is girl talk, and we just see different things and most of them are embellished. I know it sounded rude, but we were drinking and being stupid. How would you feel if we husbands talked about personal things and laughed? If any of you women were called fat, you'd be furious, and you know it. This was unacceptable and disrespectful. I'm so sorry, Jerry. It was wrong, and we shouldn't have done this. We're planning a girls' weekend. I really don't know why Stephanie wanted to do this. I know why. She doesn't respect your husband, and she convinced you all to do the same. Jerry, it's not true. I've never loved anyone as much as you. Please, I promise to make amends, and I will do so. Nobody means more to me than you. Okay, we'll see, but first, you have to prove it to me. I moved all my things into Amy's old room. It's still quite cozy. I want you to see a psychologist besides my pillow. I won't bother you. I just didn't think our marriage was so bad, and you were so unhappy. I love you, and I wonder where you lost respect for me. You make me seem like a lustful man, rude and disgusting. Am I really that bad? Honey, I love you, and you're not disgusting. I made a stupid mistake and took you for granted. I was mistaken. I don't think I need counseling. Let's put it this way. You let Stephanie tell you what to do, and I worry about her influence on all you women. This is why I think counseling is necessary. She was shocked and said she would do what I wanted. I could tell she didn't agree with me, but I felt like she needed it. I told her I would go with her if it would help, but she needed to find someone to help her. All the husbands decided that the women were right about one thing: we needed to get in shape. We went to the gym and worked on ourselves relentlessly. I gained strength and felt better. My daughter thought I was handsome now, as if this really matters to a 56-year-old man. I thought this is the situation. 2 marriages are in the counseling stage and 1 is almost finished. Stephanie and Sam are about to get divorced. Stephanie left and went to live with her sister in another state. Sam was a little sad, but he started dating a little. Nobody cared about Stephanie. Erica and Ali have had counseling and are trying to get back to where they were before the intervention. Erica is more worried about her husband, and Ali has become more assertive. He wants to be damn sure that no one thinks he's submissive. I think they will succeed. Maggie and Harold, well, she was the only one who thought that what they were planning would be a problem. She tells everyone how much her husband means to her. She lets everyone know that he really is the hottest lover since Casanova. I think my best friend Harold got over his embarrassment. This, of course, leaves me. We still live in the same house, and Betsy is still in counseling. Technically, we are married, but I have a new love in my life, my beautiful granddaughter, Brittany. At times, Betsy does seem remorseful, but who knows? Amy wants me to give her mother a second chance. Betsy and I have started to have some intimacy. The intimacy is okay, but I want to feel the passion again. She tells me that she really needs me and loves me, but time will tell. I'm starting to feel better about myself, and some of the ladies I meet at the gym seem to be a little more interested in me after I told them my story. Wait and see. Thank you for spending the time to hear today's story. If you enjoyed this essay, please like it and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a tale to share regarding your or someone else's circumstance, please do not hesitate to contact me. Take care.